Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, St. Kate's Financial Aid Basics, part one of three financial aid webinars we will have available for you this year. I'm excited to guide you through the basics of financial aid and how it can help you finance your educational journey at St. Kate's. For today's agenda, we will start with answering how much college can cost you and what exactly students and families are paying for. Then we will answer the question of what you can use to finance college expenses. Finally, we will be answering some frequently asked questions regarding financial aid. Let's start by understanding how much college costs by breaking down what you are paying for. To do that, we will begin by understanding the different components that make up the overall cost of attendance at a college or university. The first component that makes up a college's cost of attendance are direct costs. Direct costs are costs students incur that are billed by the university. Sometimes direct costs are referred to as billable items. These costs include tuition, student fees, room, and board. At St. Kate's, tuition charges are billed to the student based on their enrollment in classes. Full-time students who take between 12 to 18 credits a semester are charged a flat tuition rate. Student fees at St. Kate's include a technology fee and an activity fee. Room and board refer to the housing and meal plan charges of a student who lives on campus. Housing is not required at St. Kate's, so in the event a student chooses to commute to St. Kate's and live off campus, there are no housing charges applied. However, commuter students do have to pay for a commuter meal plan here at St. Kate's, which is $100 per semester. We will look more at this on the next couple of slides. Indirect costs is the second component that make up a college's cost of attendance. Indirect costs, sometimes referred to as non-billable items, are not actually charged to the student by the university. Instead, they are there to help students see on a broader level what expenses they should be aware of while attending college. These indirect costs can include transportation costs, such as the cost of gas or busing, books and supplies required for classes, personal expenses throughout the year, or loan fees if students choose to take out a loan to borrow money for college. Again, indirect costs are not charged to the student, so families will not be billed for any of these items. Instead, families should keep these expenses in mind when reviewing the best college fit. To review, direct costs plus indirect costs make up a school's cost of attendance. Keep in mind, cost of attendance varies from school to school. With that in mind, let's dive a little deeper into St. Kate's direct costs. First, we will take a look at a student who plans to live on campus for the academic year 23-24. Direct costs includes tuition, fees, room, and board. Tuition for this specific year for a full-time student was $48,864. Student fees, which include a technology and activity fee, is $894. Traditional housing is $6,000, and the meal plan is $4,200. This meal plan is our Platinum meal plan, which is the highest meal plan we offer. All first-year resident students are required to enroll in the Platinum meal plan, but can change to other meal plans after the first year is over. In total, for a student living on campus in a traditional dorm in 23-24, their direct costs came to $59,958. Next, let's take a look at a student who lives off campus, either with their parents or independently. Here, the direct cost is made up of tuition, fees, and board. Like I mentioned earlier, all students who choose to live off campus will still have to enroll in our commuter meal plan, which is $100 per semester or $200 a year. This meal plan is mandatory for commuter students. For a student living off campus in 23-24, their direct cost was $49,958. Some other things to consider as you learn about how much college will cost is to keep those indirect costs in mind, which you learned about earlier. Here's a breakdown of estimated indirect costs you can incur throughout the school year. Starting at the top, we have transportation costs. On average, we estimate students will use $330 for transportation-related costs. For books and supplies, we estimate about $500 a semester or $1,000 a year. Personal expenses related to attending college is estimated to be $2,350 a year and can include anything that might come up while you are in school. Loan fees are usually assessed if you borrow a loan, which we will cover later, and is estimated to be $74 a year. Finally, for students who choose to live off campus, you will want to budget out for housing and food expenses on your own. Here, we estimate $7,400 for housing if you choose to live independently, and $4,036 for food. As you can see here, the cost of attendance varies depending on whether you choose to live on campus, off campus with your parents, or off campus independently. Now that we've covered the various costs, let's explore some strategies to make college more affordable. To give you a broad overview of how that is possible, let's first look at all the resources available to you. Paying for college is a collaborative partnership between three different entities. This partnership includes the university, the student and their family, and the government. Through the university, specifically at St. Kate's, we offer merit-based scholarships to all of our full-time students in the College for Women. These scholarships are based on your academics, such as your GPA. We also offer need-based aid in the form of grants and have sustained financial aid for all 4 years you are at St. Kate's or until you graduate. The student and the family is the next group in this partnership. They are responsible for completing the FAFSA each year, or Minnesota Dream Act if eligible, and applying for any outside scholarships. They are also responsible for contributing funds of their own to cover any remaining costs. Lastly, the government is also here to help by providing federal and state grants to students in need after they complete a FAFSA or Minnesota Dream Act application. There's also student loans and parent loans available as well. Once students complete their St. Kate's admission application and any other applications necessary for financial aid, they may receive a number of scholarships, grants, loans, and student employment offers. Scholarships and grants are in the category of gift aid, which is money you do not have to pay back. Scholarships are often based on academics, while grants are often based on need. Loans are in their own category. This is money that you borrow from either the government, bank, or other organization to pay for college. The key word here is borrow, so loans do have to be paid back at some point. Lastly, student employment, also known as work study, are jobs offered to students so that they can earn money to help them pay for college while attending classes. Understanding the types of financial aid is important, but how do you go about applying for it? Let's dive a bit deeper into St. Kate's scholarships and how to apply for them. The good thing to note here is that for most of the scholarships offered by St. Kate's, we do not require a separate application. Your application to St. Kate's is your application for most of our scholarships. Merit-based scholarships are offered to all of our full-time students who have been accepted to St. Kate's and come with the admission letter itself. These merit scholarships are guaranteed for 4 years of undergraduate study or until the student completes their bachelor's degree, whichever comes first. To maintain merit scholarships each year, students must maintain a 2.5 GPA and be a full-time student. Now that we understand more about St. Kate's scholarships, let's learn about how you can apply for other types of financial aid. The free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA, is an application you will need to submit to determine your need for financial aid through the government. U.S. citizens and other eligible non-citizens are eligible to apply. Students who are looking to start college in fall 24 will need to complete the 24-25 FAFSA. The application will open in late December. Students can send their FAFSAs to up to 20 schools, so make sure to add St. Kate's using our school code of 002342. The most convenient way to complete the FAFSA is online. Students, parents, and other contributors will need to create their own unique FSA ID username and password. For undocumented students who do not identify as U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens and attended and plan to graduate from a Minnesota high school, you may be eligible for state financial aid and will want to complete the Minnesota DREAM Act application. After families complete the FAFSA, schools that were included in the application will be notified of a student's eligibility for need-based aid. The FAFSA allows schools to evaluate a family's ability to pay in an equitable and consistent manner. To the extent they are able, parents have the primary responsibility to pay for their dependent children's education. However, students also have a responsibility to contribute to their educational costs. A family is evaluated on their ability to pay, not their willingness. Circling back to scholarships, these might include scholarships offered by St. Kate's or outside scholarships awarded to students by outside organizations. For students interested in enrolling in fall 24 in the College for Women, our merit scholarships range from $30,000 to $34,000 a year. We typically take a look at GPA, but might also factor in class rank if schools have a ranking system, as well as ACT scores. Please note that St. Kate's is an ACT, SAT optional school, so we do not require ACT, SAT scores. We also offer scholarships to out-of-state students, such as the Venture Scholarship, which is $2,500 a year. In addition to that, we have legacy scholarships, which include the duplicate, triplicate, and alumni referral scholarship. Duplicate scholarships are awarded to students whose parent or grandparent graduated from St. Kate's, while triplicate scholarships are awarded to students with both a parent and grandparent who graduated from St. Kate's. If students are not eligible for any of these two scholarships, they can apply for the Alumni Referral Scholarship if they know any alumni of St. Kate's. Alumni are those who graduated from any of the three colleges at St. Kate's. Students and alum will both need to fill out an alumni referral card and submit that to their admission counselor. Alumni referral cards can be downloaded from the website and is $600 for the year. Please note this scholarship is only offered to first-time, first-year, and transfer students in the College for Women and can only be submitted once. We also have the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet Founder Scholarship, which covers 100% of tuition and fees for 4 years. Students are nominated for this scholarship by an admission counselor. We do have a November 15th deadline. Counselors are really looking for students who exemplify what we want a St. Kate's student to be. So students who identify as leaders, students who are involved in the community, and students who are passionate about a specific subject. There are 25 semifinalists that are chosen for this scholarship and 1 finalist. Semifinalists are also awarded additional scholarship if they are nominated. Aside from the St. Kate's scholarships, students may also want to look for outside scholarships. Good places to look include the web, your high school, and the community. If you receive one, make sure to let us know. For the most part, you are able to stack your scholarships at St. Kate's. We will not reduce your Syncate scholarship if you receive outside scholarships. Grants are another type of gift aid in addition to scholarships, in which you do not need to pay back. Many grants are need-based, meaning your family must make below a specific income-based threshold to be eligible. Syncate offers need-based grants called the St. Catherine Grant, which is available for 4 years and is dependent on a student's need. You must complete the FAFSA each year to determine your eligibility. The Pell Grant is a grant program administered by the federal government and is typically available to low-income families who qualify. For this grant, students must be enrolled full-time. The Minnesota State Grant is a grant program administered by the state of Minnesota and is available to Minnesota residents with low to moderate income levels. The Minnesota State Grant amount offered to students is adjusted if students drop below 15 credits, so make sure to connect with an admission counselor if you have questions regarding this grant. These are just a few examples of the types of grants that may be offered to Syncate students. There may be other grants offered to students that are not on this list, so you'll want to check with your admission counselor if you have any questions. Next, we will take a look into loan options. Let's start with student loans, specifically federal student loans, also known as federal direct loans. These are loans offered to students by the federal government. There are two types of federal student loans: subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized loans are need-based and do not accrue interest while a student is in college. Unsubsidized loans, on the other hand, are not need-based, but do accrue interest while a student is in college. There are annual limits on the maximum amount of subsidized and unsubsidized loans a student can borrow as well. Interest rates on both of these loans are fixed, meaning the rates do not change once borrowed. The interest rates for 24-25 have not been announced yet, so you will want to check the loan website after July 1st to see what the rates are. In 23-24, the fixed interest rate was 5.5%. Repayment of any of the federal student loans are not required while a student is in school. In fact, students have a 6-month grace period after they graduate before they are required to make any payments. This gives recent graduates time to find a job or make any necessary postgraduate plans before they are required to start making payments on loans. Loans are also paid back little by little. It is not expected of students to pay all of their loans back at once. The federal government also has a loan program for parents who want to help their children pay for college, called the Federal Parent Plus Loan Program. Parents can apply for this loan online the summer before school starts, and a credit check is typically required. Interest rates are also fixed, and repayment begins 60 days after disbursement, but there are options to defer payments until the student graduates. This loan is a loan in the parent's name and is not transferable to the student once they graduate. If a parent happens to be credit denied, Syncates can offer students additional unsubsidized loans. The last of the loan types we will cover today are private loans, otherwise known as alternative loans. These loans are not administered by Syncates and will require some research on the student's part. Syncates has a link to Fast Choice on our website, which is a good place to start in researching private loans. There is also a neat loan calculator tool to help you estimate monthly repayments. Students typically will apply for private loans the summer before school starts. Once a loan option is found, students will need to apply directly on the lender's website. For students who have not developed enough credit history, a cosigner may be required. Cosigners are those who add their information to the loan application and promises to pay back the loan if you're unable to. However, students are primarily responsible for paying these loans back as the primary borrower. Different loans have different interest rates and repayment terms, So make sure to do your research to determine the best loan fit for you. The last type of financial aid category we will take a look at is student employment, also known as work study. Based on need determined by the FAFSA, students may automatically be offered work study while they are in college. St. Kate's offers a first year priority placement program to students who automatically qualify based on need and want a job on campus. However, students are not required to participate in the program if they choose not to. If selected for the placement program, students must complete a mailed work study application and return it to St. Kate's by June 1st. Jobs are typically assigned based on a student's preferences and skills and offers flexible hours. Paychecks are sent to the student biweekly in the form of a paycheck, just like a part-time job. It's up to the student to decide whether they want to apply it towards tuition or not. For students not offered work study through the placement program, do not worry. You are still able to apply for a job on campus. All students will have access to Katie Career the first week of school. This website will list all available jobs on campus and even some off-campus jobs. Our Career Development Center can also assist with job searches and internships. Again, paychecks for students working on campus are sent to the students biweekly and is not directly used for tuition or a student's bill at St. Kate's. Now that we have learned about different ways to help a student pay for college, let's take a look at a study conducted by Sally Mae in 2017 that shows how most families pay for college. The majority of college costs paid for a student come from scholarships and grants, that being 35%. The next largest contribution come from parent income and savings at 23%. After that, student loans is the next largest, coming in at 19%. Many students unfamiliar with loans might be worried about having to take out a loan. So I hope this pie chart can show you that it's not uncommon for students to have to take out a loan and borrow money for college. Other interesting stats from the study include 87% of families who use scholarships to pay for college get them from the college itself. In fact, 100% of St. Kate's College for Women students who are enrolled full-time receive a scholarship. And 84% of students with loans expect to be solely responsible for repayment. Learning about financial aid and how to pay for college doesn't have to be a scary thing you do alone. Here at St. Kate's, we have counselors that you can talk to who are here to help. All students have an admissions counselor who is trained in financial aid and can help you navigate the process. Once a student enrolls at St. Kate's, they also have an assigned financial aid counselor for all 4 years they're here. To close off our webinar, let's run through some frequently asked questions. Our first question is, what if my parents' income in 2023 was less than it was in 2022? This question is relating to the information included on the FAFSA. The FAFSA uses prior tax information to determine need eligibility. So for students starting fall 24, information from 2022 will be requested on the FAFSA application. If a parent lost a job in 2023 or their income drastically changed in 2023, please reach out to your admission counselor. We do have a special circumstance form for parents to fill out if this is the case. When do I start paying back my student loans? As mentioned earlier in this webinar, repayment of any of the federal student loans are not required while a student is in school. In fact, students have a 6-month grace period after they graduate before they are required to make payments. This gives recent graduates time to find a job or make any necessary postgraduate plans before they are required to start making payments on loans. Loans are also paid back little by little. It is not expected for students to pay all of their loan back at once. Does my financial aid change if I choose to live on campus versus off campus? Your direct costs definitely change, but many components of your financial aid is based on your need. For some students, their financial aid may change with changes to housing, but for others, nothing will change. It's a good idea to connect with your admission counselor to determine if there will be any changes. This concludes our Financial Aid Basics webinar. Thank you all for watching. Remember, financial aid can make education accessible and affordable. Please join us in February to learn more about how to complete the FAFSA, and again in August to learn more about how to understand your syncates bill. Registration is required to receive the virtual webinar link. If you do miss any of these live webinars, they will also be recorded. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.